Hello everyone, welcome to this session on professional writing. This session is particularly meant for people who want to look at how they want to write professionally. We will look at what professional writing means. We will also look at what professional communication in general means, and within which we are going to look at what professional writing would mean, what its components are, and how we can all write well professionally. Now, professional writing is different from the different forms of writing in the sense that it needs to keep in mind certain set of rules, or what we consider as the set guidelines, the set procedures that is required to be followed while somebody writes professionally. What are these? How are these done? We'll be looking at it shortly. So to begin with, what professional writing is, it is a style of writing which is used to deliver authentic information, authentic or systematic information to anybody who reads it. There are other features of professional writing, and this is going to involve properties like formal style, specific audience, and the language style. We look at all of these one by one. To understand what professional writing is, it is very important to know what it means to be professional. We understand what professional means and what is professionalism. The major feature that comes through when somebody talks about professional or professionalism is the formal nature of the domain, right? It is not like how you converse with your friends or how you converse with anybody who's close to you. The space and the domain is clearly chartered with set of rules, procedures, and many other guidelines in place. And all of this also applies to professional writing too. Formal style of language is something that is recommended for professional writing. Along with formal style, now what decides the formal style of writing? It is the audience. So like we were talking about the formal style, we know that the audience who you are going to be interacting with is going to be people in an office, in a classroom, or any place where the person is not already known to you, a person who is not very much in touch with you. So we will be looking at that too. What are examples of professional writing? The examples of professional writing or examples of anything that is written in a professional language includes mostly what you can find in a business space, right? So examples of that would be catalogs of products, brochures, medical description on a tablet strip, user manuals, etc., which means anything can come under the ambit of professional writing, given it follows the set of rules that is required to make it professional, which is the formal language, the specific audience or the target audience that it speaks to, the authenticity of the information that is presented, and then the formal, the normal style that is, and any other style that is applicable to what happens in a formal space. So this is a quick introduction on what professional writing means. Now we'll move on. We'll look at what makes professional writing different from literary writing. We now know what in general, what we mean by professional writing in general. We'll look at what are the specific differences between professional writing and say something like a literary writing. This is these points are going to give us specific differences to look at. Okay, so the first one is, in professional writing, one manages specific information to take suitable actions. Now, how it is different from literary writing is exactly the last part of the first point. That is, it is written to take suitable action. Literary writing is usually written for a very different purpose, and even if it does, they have other purposes, but definitely the purposes of it cannot be to take a suitable action as much as it is for the professional writing. The second part in professional writing is that it is written to inform and instruct. Yes, it is written to inform and instruct. It can also be to persuade, it can be to describe, okay. But in the case of literary writing, it is mostly about entertainment and amusement, okay. Now, The third point here is language used is direct, factual, specific and straightforward. We will look at what the meaning of direct, factual, specific and straightforward is when we discuss the style and register with respect to the professional writing. Whereas in literary writing what you have is language that involves techniques. Now techniques here we are referring to the figures of speech, which is metaphorical or figurative use of language, which includes devices like hyperbole, metaphors, to bring in creativity and imagination to what we are doing. The next point under professional writing would be that it uses technical vocabulary. Now this is very important for any piece of information or for any piece of writing to become professional in nature, to become technical in nature. The usage of a specialized vocabulary is very, very important. Because remember, the audience that comes to you in a professional zone is also a very specific audience. Okay, what happens in a professional domain, what happens in a professional space is not meant for everybody. It is for a target audience, it is for a specific audience, and hence the vocabulary that you use to address them, to talk to them, would be definitely specialized in nature. It may not be something that is accessible to everybody, to a layman, to a common man. This also becomes then a very specific, a very particular feature of professional writing. Whereas if you look at the literary writing, you would see that you're allowed to use linguistic aspects which are not formal in nature. For example, you would see that in literature, whether that's a work of art such as a novel or a drama or a play or anything that qualifies as literary writing, is given a lot of creative liberty with respect to the usage of language. Yeah, they can use dialects, they can use language that is improper. Improper, by the word improper I mean it could be something that does not follows the structure of the English language, or it could be something that is not considered appropriate by certain sections of people. So being written in the literary zone, a lot of creative liberty is given to such forms of writing. This is not available for the professional zone. There is a set guidelines, as I talked to you before, and these need to be kept in mind before we write and execute and publish anything in the professional field. Right. The last point we've already discussed, it's about the audience. Anything in the professional zone is written for a specific audience, right? Whereas in the case of literary writing, it is written for general readers. Anyone can read. There are different styles, there are different genres in literary writing too, which is written with certain target audience in mind. If you look at certain books that have been published in the recent past, okay, like you refer to certain authors. They write for a certain section of the population. So there are authors who write adult fictions, young adult fictions, right? There are writers who write about the diaspora. Okay, there are writers who write about a certain age or a certain period in the history of time. Or there are certain authors who would write with to convey certain philosophical transition in the ages that we live. So all those genres and all those styles are possible in literature, in literary writing. In that sense, it may or may not have a different set of audience, but there is no restriction with respect to who can read literary writing, right? It is usually written for a general reader, but something like an annual report in a company or emails that happen at a workplace are not meant for everybody. It has a particular audience and it only reaches, or it is read and understood by that set of people. Okay, moving on. We'll look at what are the elements of professional writing, right? So what is it? What are the techniques, or what are the methods? What are the procedures? What are the features that one must keep in mind to make your writing professional, right? So the first point under that would be the presence of a well-developed and organized paragraph. This is essential for all forms of writing, not just professional writing, but more so for professional writing. Having a good, well-developed, well-organized paragraph is important for all forms of writing. Now, when we talk about organization, keep in mind that we are referring to the logic of writing itself, right? So this is going to include the arrangement patterns, what goes first, what goes in the middle, what goes at the end, what can be placed where to give it the kind of effect and the impact that the author, the writer wants to produce with his or her audience, right? All of this becomes a part of the discussion on organization within a paragraph, right? Development of the paragraph, of course, precedes it, okay, and the fact that the part that precedes all of this is the thought process. So once you have your thoughts in place, you have your ideas in place, then you need to develop them into a structure that is readable, that is understandable to the audience that you're writing. It should also have an organization pattern of the sentences within it, which makes it helpful, which makes it impactful to the reader who reads it. So first part is then the presence of or the usage of a very well developed and organized paragraph. The second is appropriate writing style. What does appropriate writing style mean? The style here refers to the formal style, especially we discussed about this in professional writing. The style is always formal in nature. What makes it formal? Sometimes the structure that you use, the basic template that you use to present your work can make it formal. The audience can make it formal. The medium that you choose to communicate, to write on, can make it formal. And above everything, the way you use the language, the register that you use to express what you want also makes it formal. We will look at this in detail. We'll learn and understand how we can use the structure of language, by which I mean the various both grammatical structure and organizational structure in the language to present your work in a very professional method in one of the following classes. And formal also would include the usage of the right form of template or the right form of medium that can convey a specific piece of information to the reader, right? So style here basically refers to the register and language. We already looked at it. The language that you use should be direct, factual, straightforward. We will look at what direct, factual and straightforward in the coming classes. Now, the third part here is clarity of ideas. Clarity of ideas again refer to the language mostly, right? We will look at how and what are the important features or what are the guidelines one must keep in mind to achieve clarity of thought and clarity of ideas while you're writing. And the last part is going to be spelling and grammar. This is the most ignored part of most of the writing. However, keep in mind this might look like a very obvious point to a lot of you, but this is very, very important. Any piece of information, any piece of writing that is wrought with spelling mistakes or spelling errors and grammar errors wouldn't be taken seriously by anybody who reads it, right? So spelling and grammar is definitely important. Usually this comes at the end when you're proofreading your work, but it is always good to, but keep in mind that proofreading is also a very, very important part of any forms of writing. And spelling and grammar is one among the most important part within the proofreading task. So these forms the basics of professional writing, what professional writing means, what its use is, where is it used, who uses it, etc. Now we are going to progress to other aspects of professional writing, and I will see you in the next class with the details of the first part in the elements of professional writing, which is development and organization of paragraphs. Thank you.